honoring money. Everybody borrowed too much money. Everybody neglected to have a budget. Everybody, thought money grew on trees, or the government was going to give it to us or something. It was, and so it's kind of the old order of greed and selfishness is what is crashing, because it was manipulative, and as you'll see in the third insight, this is it's all collapsing because of its bad karma. It's not in harmony with the spiritual design of the universe. So that being the case, here we find ourselves, not enough jobs, not enough money, not enough optimism, not enough faith. The only way to navigate in a world that's being downsized in its sort of energy level is to move into the place, the consciousness where that energy level is a given. So that's what we're talking about here when we talk about integrating this new spirituality.
And when you step into this flow, it feels right, doesn't it?
Yes. And here we should say that with this conversation, what we just talked about in terms of the historical perspective of, the financial world is crashing as a result of greed and government interference and all the kinds of stuff that happened, then what we're doing is stepping back and getting the second insight, which is once you experience the first insight, then there's another greater way of life that's mysterious and spiritual. And then you can step back and say, well, why haven't we been doing that all along? Because of greed and selfishness and fear. And the world is crashing from the bad karma, all that. And so the second insight is getting a longer now, stepping into a longer historical outlook. So you can say, okay, for 400 years we have been developing, the left brain, which is rational and logical, and we felt all alone too much, so we've had to be greedy and think that if we don't protect ourselves, nobody else will. So that was the emphasis of the last 400 years in the West, and really in the East as well, since they've so quickly caught up to us in our materialism. But so here we are. The second insight is expansion. It's moved. So, you have to say to yourself, "Oh, I'm participating in a grand sort of movement from one age, the materialistic age, the greedy age, into a new synchronistic flow, that kind of life and spirituality." So the longer now, we're in a transition. If we want to stumble around and fall on our face with everybody else and watch the whole thing kind of, the whole greed world collapse, we can. But the much better route is to integrate this spirituality, because, and I say this all the time, I'm absolutely serious. The world is designed to be a miracle world, to create all kinds of amazing synchronicities and growth steps and creative genius within ourselves, no matter whether we think we're smart or not. And so, what's the second insight? You have to step back
and get the big picture.
Get the big picture and think of yourself as being on the evolutionary edge into this, developing this spiritual culture for the planet. And the way we do that is to participate in it. So that's the big challenge and inspiration for our time. Hey, let's get into the spiritual universe in harmony with the spiritual design of this world, and let's have fun.
I never thought of that. I mean, I like the way you phrase that.
Well, I think it's, I'll stop here, I think, and talk practicalities.
Yeah.
Because it makes perfect sense, that first you start to sense through synchronicity this new spiritual opportunity we all have in this place our souls want to go. And very naturally, once we do that, we're able to step back into our spiritual self and see history in a new way. But, we have to wake up every morning and remember this if we're going to stay in it. In other words, it takes some time of using your rational brain to say, wait a minute, I know this is this. I've got to react differently every morning because of it. Mm-hmm. So what I always tell people is, you've got to create a new habit of waking up in the morning and remembering, number one, that synchronicity exists. And number two, that you can step into an evolutionary self, or a self that's on the on the leading edge of spiritual evolution, or however, whatever you say to yourself. But when we say that to ourselves every morning and build that, we just have to, a habit takes 15 days of remembering something logically until it becomes a habit. And that's all it really takes. But you have to wake up in the morning and remember who you really are and what the real situation is. The situation is not just that your kids are crying and they're late for school. Your situation is that you're a spiritual being leading history forward in the way you handle taking your kids to school and getting everything together in your personal life. And that's where it pays off, I should say.
And so this is attached to the second insight.
Yes.
Of being caught up into the flow. To stay in the flow is to remember. And one thing that came to me as you were talking, what about gratitude?
Well, gratitude is the engine, right? I mean, every time we want something to happen, or we feel like we have a soul urge to do something, and we are excited about it happening for us. The faith is a great engine, right? I mean, it's you have to somehow establish that this is going to happen for you. An affirmative prayer of the strongest magnitude. And I'm glad you brought it up, because just to get going in the morning with this, we have to affirm that it is going to happen. It can happen, and it is going to happen for us as individuals. And the best way to do that is, as you say, is be grateful for something. Be grateful in advance. Thank you for allowing this consciousness to come into me right now. And as you know, gratitude establishes that faith, because it's the engine that makes it not makes it happen, but allows you to stay in the flow as it does happen.
I could just see myself sabotaging myself. If that makes sense, stepping in my own way and putting all sorts of doubts in front of me, of losing grasp of this role that I am part of, not stepping up and showing up as I truly am, and losing the idea that I'm connected to the rest of this world, and snapping back into this this role of being afraid.
Yeah.
And trying
that's
to.
That's it, isn't it? Because you've got, the skeptic society of the Americas, or whoever, the local skeptics in your life, saying, "Are you crazy? This is a dead world where you have to make it any way you can. Step on whoever you have to live life, to survive. Mm-hmm. The hell with living life with any kind of excitement. You have to force your way to survive." And there's a lot of people who think that, and it's hard. There's this. If you listen to the old culture, it just looks like things are falling apart. It's crashing all around us out of greed and human frailty, and the last great civilization, is going to be is falling down, and we're going to collapse into this sort of post-millennial world of that you hear so many people worry about. Mm-hmm. So anyway, the what I suggest is you've got to quickly make sure that you're screening the news you get in a way that's functional for this journey you're making. You don't want to screen news that would bring a synchronicity, so it's a tricky thing. But the main thing is believe in the flow, believe in the spiritual evolution. One of the things that I do by traveling all over the world so much is I can report back and say, this is absolutely occurring, I'm reporting this to you. If you haven't been in Barcelona lately, if you haven't been in Germany and in Italy, if you haven't been, in South America, everything's crashing there too. Mm-hmm. But there's this evolution toward a spiritual solution to this crash is a real phenomenon that's occurring. All you have to do is look at the polls, talk to people. Just a side note, I would add, we're one of the things I've done in the last 15 years or so is been in front of the spotlights, which means that I have to do press conferences in a sense. The press challenges me, and in the early years, the press was going, "Are you crazy? What kind of mumbo jumbo are you? What kind of you peddling?" They'd spell Celestine Prophecy, and they would spell prophet like it, like the prophet Moses, And I got a lot of crap, and what's important for me is to just kind of stay steady throughout that, because starting about 5 or 6 years ago, I have to deal with the press people, and rather than attack me, they go, "Let me tell you about this synchronicity I had. What do you think about it?"
Mm-hmm.
So I'm telling you, even though the public face of a lot of things is skeptical, the individuals participating in every institution right now are open to spirituality as never before.
That sounds wonderful. I also concur with you, because I do also sense that more now than ever, it is easier to talk about spiritual insights with most anyone.
That's right.
And I guess here's the baseline, is we have to really be humble as we do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll get to that in these remaining insights. But how you handle encounters with others has to change dramatically. And if it does, things just become more and more miraculous.
You are listening to the 12 Insights of the Celestine Prophecy series with James Redfield. We'll be right back after this message.
Hi, this is Ronald D. Moore, writer of Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica, and you are listening to Authenticity Radio with Slade Suter.
Where are you when you find a group of people courageously making choices working on conflict resolution, peace building, and authenticity? You are in a Slade Suter-inspired workshop. To get a new perspective on how to resolve conflict in any group or organization, business, or family, go to www.AuthenticityRadio.com.
Hi, I'm Pixie Lawson.
Authenticity Radio.
You are listening to Slade Suter.
And now we return to the 12 Insights of the Celestine Prophecy series with James Redfield.
Though no one can see it in your lovely smile, it is time for you to be where I can soothe you. Come inside my deepest love just for a while and have sweet dreams till the morning. Have sweet dreams.
Okay, so let's go to the next insight. And the title I gave to this next insight is A World Made of Matter and a World Made of Energy.
Yes.
And the image that I had from this was the Newtonian idea of mechanics.